welcome to Catalan News. 10 years in jail, that's what the Spanish law foresees for crimes of sedition, and that's what organisers in Wednesday's big protests in Barcelona could also face. The Spanish Prosecutor filed today a lawsuit for sedition against the big demonstrations organised after police arrested 15 high-ranking officials of the Catalan government and raided dozens of government offices. This is the latest escalation on the tension between Madrid and Barcelona that is starting to worry the international community. Here at Catalan News, we have all the information about it. Let's begin. Spanish police have been raiding government buildings, print shops and warehouses. They confiscated 9 million ballots, posters and census cards, and it has arrested 15 people linked to the organisation of the referendum. Events have been cancelled, and now the focus shifts to the streets. After 3 days of protests against the Spanish government's attitude and to defend the October 1st vote, the prosecution is saying to those inciting people to take to the streets, it could also be a crime.
Sedition. This is the accusation from the Spanish High Court against the recent protests in Catalonia. The lawsuit addresses demonstrations on Wednesday and Thursday when thousands of people peacefully took to the streets to condemn a major police operation against the October 1st referendum. The crime of sedition carries prison sentences of up to 15 years and includes all actions that impede the application of the law through force or by illegal means. Nobody in particular has been directly accused. Yet, the presidents of the two main pro-independence organizations in Catalonia are highlighted as playing a key role in the protests. Indeed, they did call people to action, but they asked them to do it peacefully, just like they did today. At this point, people have gathered in front of the Ciutat de la Justicia justice quarters to protest. The energy is still high, in fact, even following the fact that it's a third day in a row of protests. In fact, at this point, there's even an environment of camaraderie as people meet for a third time to protest for the exact same thing. People are continuing to protest and chant things like votarem, we will vote, liberty, libertad, independence, and at this point, as you can hear, they are singing freedom and rebellion songs from the Franco dictatorship era as a sign of protest. All Catalan officials remaining in custody were released. After 2 days under arrest, the judge charged them with misappropriation of funds, breach of official duty, and disobedience. The highest-ranking official to be charged is the former Secretary General of the Ministry of Economy, a key figure in the organization of the referendum. He stepped down today after the Spanish Constitutional Court fined him €12,000 a day. The members of the referendum electoral board also resigned after being fined. The Catalan government stands firm in its promise to carry out the vote and says the responsibilities of the dismissed officials will be distributed to ensure that the October 1st vote becomes a reality.
The Spanish government is determined to stop the independence referendum, and it no longer seems to care how. Thousands of police agents have been stationed in Catalonia. Officers of the Spanish National Police and paramilitary Guardia Civil are already staying in 3 big ships in the ports of Barcelona and Tarragona, with the capacity for carrying thousands. Others in hotels around the country, and all official leave has been cancelled.
Yet more police pressure. That is the Spanish government's response to the demonstrations in Catalonia over the past few days. Madrid's Home Affairs Minister announced he is to send more police officers to Catalonia in case the referendum finally goes ahead. Rajoy's cabinet spokesperson added that the measure is also a reaction to the protests.
Pero a la vista de las movilizaciones tumultuarias, de las que me he referido anteriormente, el Gobierno ha decidido desplazar a Cataluña diferentes unidades de refuerzo.
The Barcelona public has already noticed an increase in the number of Spanish police officers on the streets and also in the Catalan capital's port. 2 vessels are docked in Barcelona to house the hundreds of officers coming to the city. One of them looks pretty flashy, while another ship is docked in Tarragona. Officers are being sent from all over Spain and need somewhere to sleep. But it seems the cabins provided are not good enough for some. One officer uploaded a video showing one cabin, and even the far-left pro-independence CUP party complained about the conditions. Meanwhile, the Catalan Home Affairs Minister denied accusations that the demonstrations are riotous. He also claimed there is no need to deploy Spanish police in the country. In fact, he believes there is a clear intention behind the measure.
Estaríem en una situació de clara vulneració del que són les competències de la policia de Catalunya i, per tant, és una situació d'intervenció directa de la policia. S'ha fet amb la Hisenda catalana i ara es vol fer amb la policia.
He also claimed that taking control of the Catalan police could lead to a split in the force.
The ruling PP. But what about the main opposition party in Spain, the Socialists? We have the pleasure to speak now with the leader of the Catalan Socialist Party, Miquel Iceta. Does the Socialist Party support the Spanish government police response to the referendum?
Good evening. Socialist Party in Catalonia and Spain, we are for rule of law, for respecting the law in Spain. But we acknowledge that the problem is a political one, so it needs a political solution. And in that way, we criticize the Spanish government because it has been able to do a political dialogue with the Catalan institutions, and that's the root of this problem.
Do you think banning the referendum is the right solution, even in the long term?
In most European countries, the constitution doesn't allow to make a referendum on independence. So it's inevitable that the Spanish Constitutional Court has suspended the law of the referendum. So this referendum is illegal. But for me, the problem is not just this illegality, but also that we want to vote first a new agreement. We think that the independence could be the last resort, but it cannot be the first question to answer.
What do you have to say to people that have been demonstrating in the streets?
I can understand that the Catalan people that want to vote on a referendum on independence are very angry on these days, but I think we could provide a way to vote on a new agreement that would be better than just to have half the population for and half the population against. So we don't want this division in halves. We want to try to reach an agreement that could be good for 70–80% of Catalan people.
Thank you, Mr. Iceta.
Thank you, and good evening.
While the Socialists appeal for dialogue, the Catalan government insists that it has asked for a negotiation dozens of times, always to find no for an answer. And that is precisely the message that it is sending abroad, where an increasing number of international newspapers and members of the European Parliament have started to question Spain's actions to stop the vote.
Arrests and charges for disobedience, sedition, raids in newsrooms, seizure of ballots, banning of public meetings. The international reputation of Spain is falling dramatically due to its efforts to crush the Catalan independence referendum. Although the European Commission continues to refuse to comment on Catalonia, officials admit privately that there is cause for concern. And today, about 50 members of the European Parliament from 18 countries and 6 different political groups asked Rajoy to engage immediately in a political dialogue with Catalonia and to stop what they see as an increasing violation of civil rights. Catalonia has always said that it is ready to negotiate the referendum with the Spanish government, even if an offer for dialogue on the vote arrives at the very last minute. But this seems very unlikely. Madrid and Barcelona are more at odds than ever.
Ens sentim completament recolzats i preparats per afrontar els embats que vindran. El dia 1 d'octubre es farà el referèndum d'autodeterminació que tenim convocat. Es farà perquè tenim previstos plans de contingència per garantir-lo, però sobretot es farà perquè té el suport de la immensa majoria de la població.
Puigdemont conoce de la fortaleza del Estado de Derecho. Sabe que España es un Estado democrático, que es un Estado de Derecho y que tiene toda la fortaleza y toda la firmeza necesaria para impedir que se sigan cometiendo ilegalidades y para reaccionar a todas ellas.
Puigdemont is calling for international support for Catalonia. Big newspapers have published open letters by the Catalan president. Even The Economist showed its concern today, asking for a reform of the constitution to allow a Scottish-style referendum. Directly from Edinburgh, Alex Salmon said to STV that the Spanish strategy is backfiring.
Strong-arm stuff over the last few days has done two things. One, it's galvanised international opinion in favour of Catalonia. I mean, the virtual news blackout we've had in this country over recent weeks has now ended because so dramatic have the strong-arm tactics been. And secondly, of course, it's swinging opinion within Catalonia itself. There's been about a 10% swing towards Catalonian independence.
Polls suggest that 60% of Catalans are prepared to turn out on October the 1st, despite Spanish government warnings that the referendum is illegal and after the latest arrests and investigations for sedition.
Support for a referendum, not independence, is wide in Catalonia, with 8 out of 10 people thinking there should be a vote. Not everyone agrees that October 1st is the right move, but people from very different groups and backgrounds think that citizens should have their say anyway, and they're saying it.
Students, professors, doctors, firemen and the clergy all mobilized today to defend Catalan institutions, democracy and in support of the October 1 referendum. Thousands of students came together in Barcelona, occupying the main university building and blocking busy streets to protest Spanish police actions and to support of the independence referendum. Students also demonstrated in other Catalan cities, such as Girona and Lleida, where faculty and professors also spoke out.
Que no pot ser que un sentir majoritari de la gent, unes propostes recolzades majoritàriament, tinguin com a resposta la repressió. Repressió policial, repressió política i la resposta de dir no existeix.
Spanish government delegate Enric Millo has however advised school principals that permitting any actions tied to the referendum, even tacitly, could incur criminal responsibilities. The order came in a letter warning that public authorities must comply with the decisions of the Spanish Constitutional Court or face charges. Members of healthcare industry also gathered today in hospitals and healthcare centers throughout Catalonia to denounce repression and to defend democracy.
Som gent d'aquí, som gent que veiem que hi ha uns problemes i que aquests problemes no se solucionaran si no sabent exactament la gent que vol.
More than 300 members of the Catalan clergy stated that the referendum is both legitimate and necessary. In a manifesto, they declared themselves in favor of the fundamental right of holding a vote, regardless of the outcome. Other civil society groups have also spoken out, including firemen from Barcelona and surrounding cities, who came in uniform to the demonstrations today in front of the City of Justice courts. Not everyone in Catalonia is, however, in favor of the referendum, with manifestos also released against the October 1 vote.
And with this, we finish today's show. We'll be back next week here at Catalan News with more information about Catalonia. We leave you with some images now that show the concern that pro-independence organisations have following the latest moves by police. They're moving stuff out of their offices to avoid it being confiscated. Bye-bye and see you on Monday.